And all right. So today we're talking with Dr. Okojie, and he's going to tell us about his wellness practice. And I'm sure we're going to learn a lot of different tips and just a lot more about the industry, which I'm really excited about. Dr. Okojie, what inspired you to start Okojie Wellness?
Well, I've always been interested in men's health. And in medical school, there's not a lot of focus on preventative things. It's mostly prostate cancer as men get older, bone density stuff. So when I got out of school, I was thinking, what can I specialize in or put a strong concentration on where I see men before they get sick? And testosterone came up. Um, you know, low T, the symptoms of low T, that's becoming quite like popular in our colloquial medical dialogue. So people are inquiring about it more. And so I decided, let me focus my energies there. Did some really good training on testosterone replacement therapy and preventative medicine. And I figured this is my avenue to speak to men on the front end before they get sick.
Nice. That makes sense. And it also helps you too to understand your body, and yeah, we all
That is
want to
correct. It's a
feel.
self-serving medical. So when I get older and get into these realms, I'll know exactly what to do.
Absolutely. And can you tell us a little bit about your background in aesthetics and wellness and what led you to focus on these services, if there's any kind of difference?
Yeah, for sure. My background, I got my degree in public health and my minor in nutrition at the University of Houston. And I became a personal trainer about 19 years ago. So I've always been interested in fitness and calisthenics and yoga and, kind of on the preventative end of the fitness realm as well. So it was an easy transition to go from that into naturopathic medicine, pretty smooth transition, doing things and learning about things to not only enhance the body, but that would slow down the breakdown process because we're all going to get old. We're all going to die eventually. So how can we live, you know, as fruitful as possible while we're here and not have a dramatic fall off the cliff on the physical side as well as on the medical side. So I always kind of have that in my mind, that personal trainer, preventative, forward-looking kind of thought process, and I try to implement that into medicine, and the transition was seamless.
I love it. Yeah, it all just builds and goes together. So that's perfect. What do you believe makes Okojie Wellness unique compared to other wellness centers?
Mm. I think what makes my clinic stand out is honestly, there's a level of personability that I have. To see people come into my office and get better, and to see people kind of learn and discover things. I think by my nature, I'm an information dispenser. I don't want to say teacher, but as soon as I learn something, I want to teach it to someone. In my intakes, in my clinical practice, that oozes out of me. I'm always wanting to give information and give, pro tips and be like, hey, ask your other doctor about this. So I think that that's a unique aspect and that I'm available. I know I've been a patient before. It's hard to sit down and actually talk to the doctor and have your questions written down and ask them specific questions and they're there to answer them. So I think that definitely sets me apart. I'm available for my patients. Yeah.
Nice. I like that. And how do you decide which services to offer?
It's funny because honestly, ever since in the past like 4 or 5 years, hormone replacement therapy, IV therapy, preventative medicine, people are seeking me out. You know, they'll call me and say, "Hey, I want to get my testosterone levels tested. I want to get," and ladies, I'm going through menopause, perimenopause. I want to get these levels tested. Or I heard about this Myers IV. What's that about? So under the umbrella of hormone therapy, then that's when I kind of figure out dosing and what kind of add-ons. But in general, people are calling and inquiring about these services, which is really great. There's a personalized approach based off of history and labs that I'm able to determine how much medication, what kind of medication. But surprisingly and luckily for me, people are seeking out these particular services, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I'm involved in some health related Facebook groups, and it is surprising people will ask their doctors for these tests and they get dismissed.
Yeah,
It's very common that they're not getting those
for
answers. So
sure.
that's great that they're able to contact you and you're able to help them with that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this particular branch of medicine, hormone replacement therapy, it's not fully being embraced by the mainstream. Like mainstream is peeking through the window trying to see there's some interest there. but it's not fully embraced. And we're not trained particularly in this in medical school. So understandably, I know a lot of doctors don't feel comfortable or there's controversial studies out there. So yeah, I'm here as an alternative.
Nice, yeah. And can you walk us through what a first-time client might experience if they're coming in for, let's say, IV therapy session?
Yeah. So if you're coming in for an IV therapy session, we'll have a brief intake on the phone. We'll kind of decide what IV you're looking for. Do you want IV for hair, skin, and nails for hydration? You're feeling sick. You heard about this IV that is really good for, prevention and anti-aging. We'll have a brief intake on the phone. And then, of course, there's consent forms and intake forms that the patient fills out. And then we make an appointment. And then when the patient comes in, have another brief chat with them, prepare the IV, and, get it going. Depending on what particular issue we're dealing with, I may or may not require some labs to be drawn beforehand. But yeah, typically it's quite straightforward, just a brief intake with me, and then the IV is administered.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds pretty straightforward. That's great. What do you think is the biggest misconception about what you do or with the treatments or anti-aging services?
Mm. Well, we can take it like part by part. I think with hormone replacement therapy, that it's dangerous. I think that in general, in our culture, when we think of hormones or steroids, we think of bodybuilders and these guys who are really huge and then they die of heart attack or they can't walk when they're older. Even with all the information out there, I think that that's still kind of a prevailing threat when people just hear hormone or testosterone. They think bodybuilding, they think muscle, they think steroids. Um, so helping to dispel those myths, I think helps people to understand that these hormones are in our body. We all have them. Men have estrogen, women have testosterone. These are things that we need. And this helps us to grow and to learn and to look good and to be strong and to think clearly and to feel good. So that would be the biggest one regarding hormone replacement therapy. For IV therapy, I would have to say that maybe people think that like it doesn't work or like you're just going to pee it out. That's a really big one. And not understanding that a lot of times the benefit of IV therapy is just getting hydrated. I think it's safe to say that in general, we're a dehydrated society. We drink coffee and energy drinks in the morning and alcohol, which dehydrates us. We work out, which dehydrates us. We lose water when we sleep. We drink soda. We drink fizzy water. We eat dehydrating foods. Fruits and vegetables are not always on the plate. So there's so many stress. There's so many factors, smoking, cigarettes, marijuana, all these things are dehydrating. There's so many factors that cause dehydration. And I think sometimes people think, well, I'm getting an IV and I should be like flying out of here like Superman. I got all these vitamins. But most of the time, you're just hydrating your cells, you're just hydrating your system. And that's the big benefit. And it can be a subtle thing. So if people don't understand, oh, I'm thinking more clearly now because I'm hydrated. My skin looks a little more plump because I'm hydrated. You know, I'm not getting kidney stones now because I'm hydrated. If people don't have an understanding of that, then people can think, oh, I'm just getting this IV and I'm going to pee it out. Yeah, it's really true. The myth busting and the misconceptions and the information delivering, that's my favorite part of the job. When people ask me questions like, am I going to pee this out? What does this really do? What's going on? I heard XYZ. That's the part that I love.
Yeah, and then with the anti-aging things that you do, what are some
Yeah.
misconceptions there?
Misconceptions with anti-aging, that it's all about Botox and filler. Because typically when people think of anti-aging, that's what they think of. They think of like our phenotypic physical appearance. Like I'm 60, but I don't have any wrinkles. Or they think of, I need filler because my eyes are sinking. But anti-aging can occur internally on a cellular level. Like anti-aging is being 80 years old and still being able to play chess, you know? Anti-aging is being able to play with your kids when they're little and play with your kids when they're 30. That's anti-aging. Being able to continue to work at a job that requires rapid thinking and rapid decision making as we get older. Also, your skin looks good. Your hair isn't falling out rapidly. Just because my mom and my dad and my grandma and grandpa had diabetes and heart disease, now I don't have that. This is part of the anti-aging process. Being aware of the triggers, being aware of the things that you're more susceptible to with regard to pathology and sickness and addressing those. All that stuff is anti-aging. It's not just skin or not having wrinkles.
Yeah, or not being able to move your forehead.
That's right. hey, all respect to people who want the frozen forehead. It's all good.
All right. And how do you approach understanding each client's unique goals and needs?
I think by having a conversation, like trying to understand their motivation to coming in. Because when people come to see me, it's not their weekly or their yearly like insurance checkup. People are coming because they're being proactive about their health. So automatically we relate. If someone's coming to see me, that means that they thought of something, they looked me up, they found me, and they want to speak to someone about their health and they're not necessarily sick. So most of my patients, we get along automatically because we're both on the preventative page. But listening to their story, understanding why they're here, that helps to guide it, understanding what their motivations are and gathering information from them. Because I may think that, someone wants hormone therapy because they want to improve their libido and their libido is like not as great, but their real motivation is, they may be trying to lose weight or they may want to have a better mood or get out of their depressive state. So the same way that I would understand a friend or a loved one, I would understand a patient. It's by listening and exchanging information.
Absolutely. And what advice would you give someone who's hesitant or uncertain about starting any kind of treatments?
Hmm, hmm, hmm. I would advise them to think about their body like they think about their gas car. You have to get your oil, there's electric cars now, but for people who have gas cars, um, you have to get your oil change every 3 months. You don't really question that per se. You just say, oh, it's time for my oil change. It's time for my tires rotation. It's time for my, you know, I got to get my car cleaned. And people have this on their schedule. They have it in their phones. Oh, it's time to do these things. They have it on the schedule. You can go to these local places and you get email reminders. Hey, it's time to get your. So we put all this effort and energy and time and money and consideration into our car, but transfer that to yourself. What's more important, me or the car? Me, of course. So the same way I have my checkups for my tire rotations, for my oil changes, for my wiper blades, do the same thing for yourself. Go in twice a year and get a lab draw. I live in Pacific Northwest. The sun isn't really popping all the time. Like get your vitamin D checked. You know, understand that your body is something that you have. It's something that you need to maintain. It's something that you need to pay attention to. Consciously, like live with your body. I think our bodies are so strong and so resilient that we take them for granted. So the same way we have reminders to change our oil, we should have reminders to get our blood work done. And there's no fear in it. It's a blood draw. You get to see what's going on and you can address it before it becomes a major issue.
Great perspective. Something I tend to think about is people think that, oh, that costs money. But when you're taking care of yourself, you're going to save a lot of money down the line on
Right.
medications are not cheap. Healthcare in general, when you're treating issues, it's not good. So yeah, just taking care of your body, doing
Yeah,
those things regularly.
that's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up. Like, paying on the front end as opposed to paying on the back end. For sure. That's a really, really great point. Prevention is always cheaper. After you run all the numbers, prevention is cheaper than trying to cure something. So yeah.
And you feel great. So that's
And you
always
feel
good too.
great. And you're taking care of yourself. When you're healthy, everything else is better. When you're sick and the sun is shining, it doesn't feel the same when you feel good and the sun is shining. So
Very true. What does wellness mean to you, and how do you incorporate that philosophy into your services?
honestly, what wellness means to me is living consciously, being intentional about your health. Again, like our bodies are so resilient. I don't have to tell my heart to beat. I don't have to tell my diaphragm to expand and contract. I wake up in the morning, I can go exercise, work out, be stressed out, go to sleep, and I'll wake up again the next morning, and we can roll 50, 60 years through life like this. But I think wellness is being conscious. Even though I can make it through the day, I'm going to consciously see, can I make that day more optimized? Can I feel better? Because I can make it. We're super strong as human beings. I can make it sick. People can make it years with cancer. People can make it years with clogged coronary artery. People can make it years with uncontrolled diabetes. We can make it. We can have fun. We can go on vacation. We can have kids and do all these things with all these pathologies. But how much more wonderful would it be if we lived consciously and address those issues? So that's wellness equals living consciously.
I love that. Yeah. Is there any personal wellness routines or practices that you recommend to clients for their overall health?
Yes, I think in general, um, counseling, I think is good, or some type of talk therapy. I think it's always great outside of seeing me because so many times the body is just a manifestation of like pathological, psychological issues or traumas. So I always recommend that. Like oftentimes I'll see patients coming in and they're struggling with their libido or their sexual function. And, they want a pill or they're like, oh, if I just increase my testosterone, then my libido. But sometimes it has to do with communication with your partner. You're coming to see me. We're going to talk medicine. We're going to talk nutrition. We're going to talk diet and lifestyle, but there's a whole nother aspect. So I always recommend communication with the people in your life all the time. And then, of course, exercising, moving your body, eating your greens, your fruits and vegetables. That's just a staple. And avoiding food that has more than 5 ingredients on the packet. Or if you can't pronounce it, probably shouldn't eat it.
Absolutely. Eat real food.
Eat
And then
real
I
food.
and then I agree. I think therapy and counseling is becoming a lot less taboo than it used to be. People are understanding it's okay to talk things through and that you could actually prevent a lot of crazy situations if we're acknowledging what's going on and yeah, working on ourselves.
Absolutely. That's that conscious living. Talk it out. Talk
Mhm.
it out.
Are there any new treatments or innovations that you're excited to bring to your practice?
New treatments. Yeah. So there's a very popular molecule, anti-aging molecule called NAD that's been out, and we've been using it in IV intravenous form and intramuscular form, and even the precursors in oral form. But I have a couple of new formulations that I've seen really good results with at lower doses. So low dose intravenous NAD is really popular. I've seen some really good positive outcomes with patients with that. And then for more of my super anti-aging type patients, we have biological age testing. So based off of your cellular health, you can get your age. So your chronological age will be however old you are, but then you can get some blood tests and it'll tell you your biological age. And so if your biological age is older than your chronological age, then we can implement some treatments to help reverse that. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, very interesting too. I'm sure
Hmm.
that'd be a big wake-up call for a lot of people, but then
I
you can get
know.
ahead of it if it
That's
is,
exactly right.
not optimal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun. I want everybody to do it.
And what are your goals for Okojie Wellness over the next few years?
Very good question. I think my goal would be that everyone knows about my clinic, the whole world. I'll be on CBS or CNN being interviewed about my clinic and about my philosophies. That's what I would want. But on a smaller scale, just awareness around hormone replacement therapy and people in this area and where all my clinics are understand that I'm a resource to come to, that there is a doctor who focuses on preventative medicine, who's up on the research, who knows about hormones. I just want people to be aware that I'm here as a resource and I want to spread the word about um, optimizing health and living consciously. So, yeah. So that the goal is that we'll be doing this interview. You'll be interviewing me on like a very big platform. I'll take you with me,
Mm.
and we'll be on like
Okay.
we'll be on cable TV, and you'll be interviewing.
I'll be the new Oprah and
That's
yeah.
exactly right. I'm with it. I'm all about it.
What's the most popular service that you offer or that people search you out for, you think?
It's a tie. Testosterone therapy, hormone replacement therapy for males and females, by the way, and then probably that NAD IV that I was speaking about. Um, it's really really good, and a lot of other doctors and influencers and people are it's the anti-aging molecule, so automatically people are all about that one. So yeah, hormone replacement therapy and NAD IVs are quite popular.
Nice. What's a common client success story or transformation that stands out for you?
Well, okay, we haven't spoken about this. It's a weight loss story, and the very popular weight loss drug that's out there, there's controversy behind it because people are like, oh, they're cheating or there are side effects to this. But I do have to say, I've had a couple of clients come in after losing between 50 and 90 pounds, come in crying and saying, I can walk now. when I used to struggle, or I feel like a different person, or I'm giving my clothes away because they don't fit anymore. And I just feel better in my skin. And the idea of weight loss in some circles can be seen as like this kind of trend that we're falling into, that everybody has to be skinny, you know? So I think when some people hear weight loss, it can trigger them to be like, oh, you're just trying to fit into this model lifestyle. And I thought about that a little bit too. And I checked in with myself and I was like, do I feel that way? And what I realized is if there's another human being walking around feeling better about themselves, who's healthier, who, when they look in the mirror, it's a positive thought. When I walk next to them in the street, they have positive energy. They have less shy energy. They have less embarrassed energy. And if giving them a weight loss medication and monitoring them safely does that, then I'm all about it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. If you could share one piece of wellness advice that everyone could benefit from, what would it be?
I'll give you two pieces. Can't do one. Get a full blood panel every year and get, especially if you're over the age of 40 years old, get a coronary artery CT scan. The number one cause of death in the world all the time is some form of heart disease, and the coronary artery is the main artery of the cardiovascular system. And you can get that with or without insurance. You can get that checked and see if there's any clog or any blockage there. So coronary artery imaging, especially if you're over 40, and no matter what your age, a full panel blood draw at least once a year.
Nice. And is that something you can help people with if they need those tests
Absolutely.
run?
Absolutely. I'm here.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Okojie, for answering these questions and giving us all this amazing information. Be sure to go ahead and make an appointment with Dr. Okojie to get your blood work done and be hydrated and take care of yourself on a regular basis.
It's awesome.